I faced an interesting conundrum with this video. I have found a powerful strategy as the Qing Empire, which allows me to get corn laws within just 10 days of the game beginning. Very epic, very cool. I could just present that opener, call it a video, and move on, but I want to give you something with a little more meat on the bone. The problem is that I find playing as a Qing with corn laws to be kind of boring, since you're just immediately the most powerful nation on Earth, with nothing left to challenge you. Tread wisely with the power of corn laws Qing, lest you sap the fun out of your game. I did not heed this advice, and as a result, did indeed achieve a massive Qing empire with almost 1 billion people in it. But it wasn't very interesting. What do I write about the fact that I queued up 250 textile mills, and then they built, and then I looked at them? Hard to say, really. The first 10 years of this game are definitely interesting enough to commentate, hence, I did. However, for the rest of this run, I'll provide you a relatively brief overview of the biggest events. Regardless, enough of my yapping, this is Qing, which finds itself facing a lot of problems, albeit those problems have an easy solution. Let's get into it. So as Qing, you kind of have two problems. One is the British, and the other is your own country being extremely backwards in terms of its laws. We can solve both with one fell swoop, basically, and that involves moving the market capital to Taiwan. You might be asking why we do this, and it's because of two things. First, in the Opium Wars, the problem is Britain asking for a treaty port within you. If you have no ports, though, then there can never be a treaty port, so we're just going to get rid of all of our ports. This means that now there cannot be any British Opium War because there's no port to take. Beautiful. This has the secondary effect of also isolating our market entirely because now our market capital is in Formosa and there's no ports. So everything will be disconnected. It will be when we unpause anyway. You can already see the convoy negatives here. It's trying to send goods from the market capital of Formosa into China, but it can't. Before we actually see our market get completely destroyed by this new development, we're going to actually export a bunch of grain. This will hopefully bump up the price on the grain, and in so doing, it will let us get corn laws pretty easily. So I'm just going to click every trade that we can. I'm not actually planning to keep these trade routes. I just need to temporarily spike the price of grain. And now let's go ahead and put encourage exports. Now we just unpause. There we go. Okay, there's all the isolation right there. So now what's happening is that our market is just kind of whack because we have suddenly this like no buy orders and no sell orders. It's not that all the production in China is gone. It's that your market only accounts for what's connected to the market, which means that right now only Formosa's production actually counts in the market. You can see this calculated here. If you look at buy orders, or rather sell orders, then you can see that subsistence rice paddies in Formosa are giving 169. Everything else is 0 because there's no market access. Pops can still consume goods that have no market access, but they just can't contribute them to the market. As you can see, because of this, our grain price is now 31.8, which is obviously in the range for corn laws, and most of that is thanks to the trade routes they made beforehand. Those trade routes will almost immediately cancel because now there's not enough goods for it, but it doesn't matter. We're going to keep the game unpaused, and here comes corn laws. There it is. January 10th, corn laws. And all it cost me is moving my trade capital temporarily. We can move it back, I think, in a year. I think is how long it takes. 5 years. It's a bit painful. But basically, we're hamstringing ourselves for 5 years temporarily in order to massively increase our power very soon. Let's wait now for the opium addiction to happen. So I think that event's going to pop up pretty soon where we get the widespread addiction to opium. So now we have to go and ban opium and just wait. Let's do that. We're going to hit this. We have to do something. We're going to cancel this port because we actually don't want to build that. And then we're going to immediately put a ban on opium. Great. Now we just wait 5 years. We have to wait 5 years to move our market capital back to Beijing anyway, so this isn't really that big of a deal, and we're just going to chill. In terms of budget, I'm actually going to get rid of all these government wages because they're way too expensive. And I'm probably going to keep taxes at the middle level. And this budget is going to get better over time as we move the market capital back to Beijing, probably. But for now, it's going to be pretty painful. In terms of our authority, I guess we can just spend it on agriculture decrees, because, you know, we can just get more throughput on stuff. Let's just do that. So, in terms of what the goal is for this run, by the way, since we're kind of just waiting for a while, I'm going to just build as strong of an economy as I can. I don't really have any greater ambitions. China, by itself, with what it starts the game with, has more than enough resources and people to just completely dominate the game. So once we finish the opium crisis, and once we finish being able to move our market capital back, we're just going to sit and build tall. We probably want to eventually reclaim Macau, just because it's affecting our borders. You know, it doesn't look very aesthetic on the map. but I don't really care to reclaim it because there's not really much point to. It's not really harming us exactly. In case you're wondering why Britain isn't actually invading me, it's because they can't demand a treaty port if we have no ports. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I'll re-emphasize that if you have no ports, you can't have a treaty port. So Britain just can't get what they want out of us. Britain could attack us just to conquer land, but their AI essentially looks at us and thinks, I need to get a treaty port to solve the opium crisis, so I'm going to ask for a treaty port. And then it sees that it can't, and then it just kind of decides not to do anything until it can. That's more or less what's going on here. You know, I wonder, if we release Formosa, does our market capital move? Hold on, is this a big brain play? I think I just made the biggest brain play out there. I think our market capital moved, but to where? Was it to Beijing? I don't know where the market capital is anymore. It looks like it is in Beijing. Okay, that's huge. That's actually extremely worthwhile. Because we lose Formosa, like, sure, but like, who the hell cares, to be quite frank? Like, it doesn't really matter, like, at all if we have Formosa as a subject. So now we actually can reunite our market. I should have thought of that before making the video, but we did it now, I guess. In your run, once you get Corn Laws activated, just release Formosa. We should see now that our market is going to re-equalize and everything's going to kind of return to a good place, which is awesome. It'll also make construction a lot cheaper because we can access all the wood in the market. It does, funnily enough, tank our GDP, and that's because the price of all the goods while our market was isolated was way higher, but we still produce the same number of goods. The way that GDP is calculated is you take the market price of all your goods and multiply it by the quantity of the goods produced. Even if the good is being produced in, let's say, Shandong, where it's isolated, these goods still get the price of the market. So you see the market price is plus 46%, even though local price is plus 3%. The market price is used to calculate GDP. So this number is used even though this is the actual price being used. A little bit confusing, but it makes sense when you think about it, I guess. Anyway, now we're just waiting on Corn Laws to give us the market liberal. Once we get the market liberal, we can very easily get off serfdom and get on to laissez-faire. Very Sigma, very GIGACHAD. I guess we can work towards recognition, actually. That's probably what we want to do next. Do we have colonization? We don't have that yet. Let's actually grab that now, and we can work towards getting good relations with someone like Russia. Or maybe, well, I guess I'm debating if we want to use the Ottomans for war goals or Russia for war goals. Both are kind of good options. Probably the Ottomans are a better bet. So let's be friends with the Russians. Let's be friends with France, if we can, and we'll try to invade the Ottomans. Let's make some rivals just for the influence. I don't really, whatever, who cares, right? I'm not exactly planning to antagonize these guys very much, but just looking for rivals to get influence. When it comes to the addiction recovery button, by the way, like this event, you should pretty much always take the loyalists, purely because by taking the +1 SOL, you're just going to get a bunch of radicals 2 years later when that SOL wears off. So I like to just grab the loyalist pops. As you can see, it does give you quite the boost. That was really nice. Still waiting on the modern conservative, by the way. Still no modern conservative, no market liberal. Very annoying. It'll happen eventually, just sometimes it takes a couple years. This is cool. This guy's name is Borjigin, which I believe is the family that Genghis Khan belongs to, right? It's always interesting to see historical characters that have interesting names. I wish that there actually were more things like this in Victoria 3 where you could recruit from minorities. For example, if I were to make a new army and recruit generals, they're all just going to be like Manchu or Han. We're not going to see any like, you know, local minorities or anything. We're not going to see any Mongols or any like Kyrgyz or anything like that, or any Uyghurs. We're just going to see Han and Manchu, because generals you recruit will always be of your culture, unless they're historical. And I kind of wish there was more, like, I don't know, mechanics around recruiting from minorities, because that could be an important piece of, you know, political influence, right? We're about halfway through the opium crisis. Still haven't gotten the market liberal, which is really annoying. I'd like to get that sooner rather than later, but oh, there it is. Well, complain and you get what you want. Here's the market liberal, an inspiration for our age. We're gonna probably have to bolster the liberal movement to get it to actually do anything, but that's okay. I'm just gonna take off one of my decrees to make that happen. I guess we could take off the decree in here, sure. And then we'll go and bolster the liberals in order to get them to be more influential. They're going to reach 10%. That's probably enough to influence the landowners, which would allow me to put this guy in charge. More addiction recovery. We'd love to see this. Look at all those loyalists off of just random events. Super nice. Also, Greek uprising in the Ottomans. This would be a good opportunity to invade them. I guess we can start doing it now. I mean, we're about to get colonization, right? So sure, actually, let's do it. We're going to do a play for banning slavery, and we'll probably just add all the war goals that we're going to need. Let's liberate Iraq. And then I'm actually going to move my interest off of Anatolia into the Balkans so we can liberate Bulgaria. That should get us plenty of recognition progress. We're also going to war operations on the Ottomans. I definitely need to organize my army if we're doing this. So let's just make like a big like cavalry plus infantry army. I'm going to grab, we have 15 ships. So I'm going to grab 7 hussars. and 8 irregulars. Make a new army. Sounds good. We'll call this the Marines, I guess. I don't really know any Chinese lore, so I can't think of a good name, but if you have an idea, let me know. Call it the Marines, and let's find a good general. No good generals, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. We'll just take whoever pops up, basically. Well, it looks good. Put them on rapid advance. Like so. Beautiful. Now we just wait. We'll mobilize, of course. These guys are all irregulars, so they don't really consume very much stuff. So we can just mobilize basically like the whole army, just because they don't cost very much to mobilize, but we won't do that if we don't have to. Also, did we get our Balkans interest? We did, so now we can liberate Bulgaria. Bulgaria plus Iraq, plus war operations, plus banning slavery should be more than enough to get recognition. We've also almost got 50 relations with Russia, which is coinciding nicely with the colonization research, which is in 9 weeks. Very cool. For those that don't know, once we get colonization, we're going to unlock the earning recognition journal entry. And with that, we can actually get recognition. For it, we need 50 relations with a great power, which is going to be Russia. And we have to fulfill some conditions for the journal entry. Some of the conditions are very difficult things to get, like getting a high SOL, getting a high literacy, stuff like that. But one of the conditions is literally to just enforce some war goals on a great power or major power. The Ottomans are a great power, so we're going to enforce war goals on them, and then we'll get a bunch of stuff for that. So here goes. What we're taking advantage of here is the fact that the Ottomans are split into many different HQs. So because they're part of a lot of different HQs, we can land without needing to actually land against any enemies. See how there's nobody garrisoned here? We can land in Dobruja and then use rapid advance to quickly make our way to Thrace and then end the war very quickly. I've explained this many times in many videos, so forgive me if I'm not explaining it very deeply. It's just that it's the same every game. It doesn't exactly change according to each game. Being at war does stop our opium crisis from ticking, but this is totally worth it, so it's no big deal. Here we go, we're about to land in Dobruja. Seems like we don't quite have full morale, maybe? Yeah, we don't have quite a full organization. Okay, well, that sucks. Bad timing, I guess. In that case, we're probably just going to cancel this and try it again in a minute. We should have waited till we didn't have full organization is the problem, so we'll try it again soon. While we're waiting, they're going to try to naval invade me, so I guess we just defend the front. Although it seems like we actually have, like, no stats, which is unfortunate. Let's make all these guys just huge rank so that they can actually support this many people and defend our borders. Funnily enough, because we still have the opium addiction modifier, the Ottomans might end up being able to naval invade on me. We'll have to see how it goes. Definitely was a big mistake to not have full organization before arriving. They shouldn't be able to land because they're sending 42 troops with 16 ships. With a lack of support for the army, they should have a massive negative to their offense, which should let us defend. We do have a pretty low defense, but they're going to be taking a pretty massive negative because of their lack of support. We're going to land in Iraq first. While we're sitting here, we should get our organization up. Or we need to have max organization to actually begin a naval invasion, which is why we couldn't land in Dobruja earlier. The plan is to invade Iraq, advance a bit, get the army to move over to contest us, then before they arrive, we move up to Dobruja again. He's probably going to send an army to respond relatively soon. I think that's it right there. It probably is. Before they arrive, we're going to go over to Dobruja. They're arriving in 5 days. We'll just go now. We could wait till there's 1 day left and get as much occupation as possible, but that's okay. We'll go to Dobruja now. Let's see how this landing's going. I assume they cannot land. Yeah, they're getting, like, slaughtered. They have 1 offense. So I think that this is just going to be free manpower destruction. It's going to hurt their war support a lot to take that many casualties, so we'd love to see that. Can I put this guy in charge yet, by the way? I sure can. We can grant leadership. I kind of forgot about this. We definitely should do it. Now we can get off of serfdom. We're going to go to homesteading. Here comes our landing in Dobruja. It's very unlikely that we'll get to Eastern Thrace right away, because they're going to send someone to respond almost immediately, because their army is still here. But we can do another invasion off in Kars now, which again, we're just basically playing hard to get and continuously naval invading different spots in order to make the Ottomans overextend themselves and eventually leave Thrace open. They will eventually abandon Thrace. It might just take a long time. I think they just did it right now. Yeah, okay. Well, let's push a couple provinces first. Okay, 10 days. You can look here to get an idea of how long they're going to take, so let's just watch this. 5 days, 4 days. We want to leave basically when there's about 1 or 2 days left. Now we're going to go invade Thrace. There's no one there, so it should be a free landing. They don't even have their navy out, so that's nice. Their navy could definitely beat mine, but they're just choosing to not fight back. Here we go, landing in Thrace. Easy clap. They unfortunately have an army right next to it, so they're going to be able to take it back really quickly. But that's fine. Again, we're just going to keep re-landing and redoing this over and over again until we win. There shouldn't be a garrison here. There sure isn't. This will extend the front line, which means they'll have an even harder time now actually taking Anatolia back. I mean, Thrace, not Anatolia. They currently have Anatolia, lucky bastards. We're gonna land in Aydin as well. Oh, they did manage to take Thrace back. Okay, hold on, cancel this. And we'll instead just land in Thrace right away. We're already right here, so it'll be pretty much instantly back to us. There we go, immediately got it back. Now let's go land in Aydin to again extend the front line. How's the landing in Beijing doing? I assume, again, they just have no offense because of lack of support. Nothing to worry about there. They might get Thrace back through this front, which would be unfortunate, but again, it doesn't really matter. We'll just take it back again. There's a why the Ottomans don't use their navy to stop me. I don't really know why. For whatever reason, they refuse to put an admiral on the navy. It could be they're having bureaucracy issues. Maybe there's... Is there a way I could check that? I doubt there is, because I can only see their tax capacity, but it could be that the AI is seeing a bureaucracy issue, and on account of that doesn't want to hire an admiral because it would make the bureaucracy issue worse. However, by not hiring an admiral, they're just not contesting my fleet, even though my fleet is like total garbage. It's like a couple of wooden planks with some sailors on it, I guess. So this is just kind of a dumb move on their part, but it is what it is. The more we land, the faster their war support goes down. There's homesteading, by the way. I wasn't even paying attention to that. Now that we have homesteading, we can go on to laissez-faire. There's something to be said for maybe going interventionism first for a little while, but I'm just gonna go laissez-faire right away. I don't want to bother even thinking of the nuance of economics. We're gonna win the war in like another tick anyway, so who cares? There we go. So, there's the war. This should get us recognition. There we go, earning recognition. The Russians do have 50 opinion, so there's our recognition. 1841 recognition for Qing with soon-to-be laissez-faire, and we've already abolished serfdom. Very cool, very epic. What rank are we gonna be? Number 4. So basically we're number 4, world power, right off the bat. That's great. That's the guide. From here, I'm gonna like play the game a bit and just kind of have fun, I guess. But if you're trying to play Qing, this is probably like the best start you can get. I know there are ways to get control of the EIC from Britain if you do some janky naval invasion stuff. However, I just kind of don't want to try it because I don't know how to do it. That's basically the only thing I can say about it. I don't have the technique off the top of my head, so I don't know how to do it, but there are ways to get control of the EIC like super early. In 11 months, we're going to be done the Opium Crisis, and that will, I believe, get rid of our widespread opium addiction problem. And when that happens, I mean, we're going to be in a very good place. We can probably take off the opium ban afterwards and then just build a bunch of opium, because even though opium is a deadly drug, it's extremely profitable and therefore is worth building. So we'll build a bunch of opium in Yunnan, or Sichuan, sorry. I mean Yunnan as well, but both. Probably should keep building stuff. I just realized my building queue is empty. Definitely shouldn't have that be the case. For now, I mean, honestly, like more paper just kind of sounds good. We have a lot of bureaucracy as China, so we want to just get more paper to cheapen up our bureaucracy costs. We're paying low wages to our bureaucrats right now to try and help with the cost of that. As you can see, each step is like a massive increase in expenses, but if we can reduce the cost of paper, we'll also help with that a lot. Also, Greater Manchester is here, by the way. This happens if the British capital is in Manchester. I don't know why there's flavor for, like, the particular situation where Britain moves its capital to Manchester, but it looks like we might be seeing a reactionary revolt. Interesting. What do they even want? Like, they're just upset. They're just angry. I guess they want less tolerance. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. But yeah, they probably will win. It's hard to say because revolts are always kind of a real toss-up in terms of who can win. Clearly the revolt has more troops, but like the AI is just really weird. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't forget that if you're trying to solve your corn laws entry, you have to pass free trade. Make sure you do it after you finish the opium crisis, because you'll fail the journal entry if you enact it early. There it is, the end of addiction. Love to see it. So we can stop being obsessed with opium, which happens either way. We can get some legitimacy, authority, influence, or we can get minus mortality. I think we're just going to grab the authority, influence, and legitimacy because we have lots of people. Mortality isn't exactly a problem. Awesome. And using that authority, I guess we can put down more agriculture decrees because we have lots of agriculture to go through. So now begins the prospect of making a super economy, I guess you could say. As Qing, we have everything that we need for it, except for the tech. That's the big thing that we're missing, is we just don't have a lot of technology. We're going to want to get... we already have academia. Okay, we're definitely going to build a ton of universities then. And we're going to need schools. In terms of getting schools early, I think the Confucian scholars are probably the best way to get schools from the outset. So we'll try that out in a moment. I believe now I can actually take off the opium ban. So that's cool, we're going to do that. And then that means I can build up a bunch of opium. So how about that? Now that we've asserted our sovereignty, it's no longer a dangerous addictive drug. Now it's a, you know, Chinese export, I guess. But we can also make ports now, because although the AI might still try to get a treaty port on us because they might want one in general, they can't, because we're a great power. So now we can build ports again. We no longer need to isolate our market artificially. We're working on Napoleonic Warfare now. Once we get Napoleonic Warfare, we'll more or less have an army that can contest pretty much anyone in the game. Again, except for the skirmish infantry, the Lancers plus line infantry combo is about as good as anything else in the game. Skirmish infantry are good, but Lancers are also extremely good, so we're happy to see that. We could go for India, to be honest. It would probably cost, like, a lot to transfer it. I mean, we can transfer 83 infamy. I think we do just go for it, right? We're just gonna have to wait until we get the Lancers to do it, because I'm a little bit worried to do it without Lancers. There's laissez-faire. Love to see that. For the next law, I mean, we could go for tax reform, but I think I'm good. From this point, I mean, I guess professional army would be nice, because it'll help with our army being a little more powerful. But the big thing is schools, which unfortunately no one wants. Even the religious folk do not want it. Interesting, they only have 2 ideologies, which is strange. Usually they have 3. I guess we go for professional army. Sounds like the most reasonable thing. For our company, can we get a... We can get a plantation company. Beautiful. So we're gonna grab this. Awesome. And now that should help with our opium being extremely overpowered. In terms of invading the East India Company, we could just do it through Tibet. Or I think this actually is impassable, so maybe not. Or we could do a naval landing in West Bengal, which we could totally go for. I also love this Magna Mancunian East India Company. Just stop. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? No. But whatever, it's fine. So in terms of our budget, we have a little bit of a deficit, but now that our interest rate is only 2.9%, I don't really care. If we can get the petite bourgeoisie to be powerful eventually, then we can maybe get even lower of an interest rate, but at 2.9%, I'm totally chill to take on debt. I think our next thing is going to be to spam universities. I'm going to put them in the capital, because that's usually a good spot for universities, unless we don't have any infrastructure. Which, to be fair, we might not have. We do not have infrastructure. Okay. In that case, how about in Suzhou? That's a good spot. Put 40 down. With 40 universities, we'll never have to make any more for the rest of the game, especially once we get philosophy department. It'll take a bit to get there, because right now we have a big... we have like a massive just collection of opium plantations to make. But to be honest with you, maybe we prioritize the universities. I think we do prioritize the universities, because research is really important. So let's just do that. We want to go for this war with Britain. I think we do, because they're busy with the Civil War, right? So let's seize on the opportunity. We're going to do a transfer subject on the EIC. And I can't see how this could possibly go wrong. I guess we can war operations on them as well, just for extra money. I could war operations on Britain itself, because they actually have an incorporated state right here in Ceylon. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. I guess we might as well, right? It's right there. It'll be easy to get. So here's hoping that this civil war lasts for much longer. It looks like it's actually not going to last much longer, so that kind of sucks, but it'll last for a bit. Let's go and land first over here in the British Ceylon. This is because we can get the war operations ticking on Britain themselves. And in terms of landing in the EIC, it's honestly quite possible we could just beat them in a real landing, and once we get the Lancers anyway, which is going to take a few months. We can also try to go land in London, which is surprisingly easy at times. They're going to make landings against me, that's totally fine. I don't suspect they'll be able to really do anything. Let's make sure we have enough generals to actually defend ourselves. But we'll just put some generals on here. I'm sure 100 line infantry can fend off the British with relative ease. Especially because we don't have the Opium War modifier anymore, so our units are not total crap. I'm going to first go for a landing maybe in like Bombay. Again, the whole point is to just distract, and then we'll go for the capital in West Bengal once the army kind of moves away and does some weird stuff. There's our free landing. Although it looks like we, for whatever reason, didn't actually get to properly land. Let's just do another naval invasion here, honestly, rather than having to wait to get in there. And we'll just march through here. That looks good. Okay, it looks like that's the dead end, though. Unfortunate. This will be another free push. We can maybe just push right into West Bengal through, like, this front. 3 days. Okay, looks like there is actually not. Unfortunate. Let's see where we can go from here. Maybe we can land over here. This might actually not be part of the same HQ. So crap, I think we got involved in a battle. I think we're not in a battle anymore? I can't tell. This game can be... What are we? We can't reach the C node. Interesting. I guess is there no port here? Is that the problem? There is a port, so I don't know why we can't escape. Quickly explain this. What's happening here is that in Victoria 3, every state is divided up into little provinces, and in every coastal state, only one of those provinces has an actual port in it. Currently, the port in the state of Bombay is held by Portugal, and the port in Gujarat is held by God knows which princely state over there. And that means that technically, my army has no sea access. Yes, it's very stupid, and yes, it makes no sense when you can nonetheless build ports despite only one province within the state actually having what the game considers to be that state's port. Basically, for this army to go free, I'll have to wait until this front is pushed completely out, at which point my army will teleport back to China on account of having nowhere else to go. It's really stupid. I just can't escape from here. This army's like stuck in the middle of Madras HQ. Really annoying. It's okay though. Now I can try to land in Arakan, which I think is a different HQ than Bengal. It is. Okay, beautiful. There seems to be a fleet there, but we can hope that it leaves. I don't see the fleet. It's invisible. I guess it's right there. Yeah, there it is. But it also has no organization, so maybe we can just fight it. We actually can just fight the British Navy, at least a small portion of it. There is now a much larger fleet here, though. Maybe we can still fight it anyway, though. Right? It's probably not worth it to try and even do this, but actually, well, it looks like the big fleet left, so now we have to fight the small fleet. How many admirals are here? Just one? If we win this battle, then we can go. Beautiful. And now we push over here. We push, like, immediately because of how fast the charge is. There we go. And there's probably going to be an army here, like, immediately at one day. So let's maybe just, like, go over here. Basically, we're going to have to continuously repeat this landing over and over until we eventually get the war to, like, end. Because obviously we can't possibly fight anyone here. We could actually try to, because we do have, like, several hundred units. We could try to, but it would be very expensive. I'd rather just do these naval invasion, like, BS strats over and over again. We'll do that. Let's just go back to our home in Ceylon over here. And we'll do the invasion again once we see that the enemies have left. Every time we do the invasion, we're going to drain British war support until eventually they want to give us what we want. There's our Lancers, by the way. Huge, huge, huge upgrade. So let's do that. Lancers are extremely good. They're just, like, unreasonably good compared to artillery. The more they try to occupy me over here in Beijing, by the way, the more they lose war support. Or, I guess, what is it? War exhaustion? They gain exhaustion, I should say. Which means that they're gonna capitulate faster. Sorry, I've been playing a lot of Hearts of Iron 4 lately, so I have a lot of Hearts of Iron 4 lingo in my head right now, but that's okay, right? For whatever reason, he just won't station anyone in Arakan, so we can keep on doing this and then pushing to west, and then leaving, and then pushing west, and then leaving, and then pushing west, over and over again, as many times as it takes, basically. Okay, there we go, just barely made it before the army arrived. Again, we just keep on cycling this loop until we win. Now you can go back to Ceylon again. This will eventually work. It might just take a long time. But that's okay. We have all the time in the world, right? Check out this Opium, by the way. 124% throughput. It's pretty good. I gotta say, that's not bad. I think I've seen higher, but it's pretty good. Hard to beat. Hard to compete with. Because the plantation owns, like, everything. The AI is just so erratic and confusing. I wish I could tell you more consistent things to do and less, like, gamey stuff. But this really is, like, how you play Victoria 3. It is what it is. This is, like, the way to play, because it's the most fun. If there were more interesting ways to reform your country and to get edges over your enemy and to, like, play in specialized ways, it could be better to not play with these super janky setups. But this really is, like, the best way to play Victoria 3 in terms of creating the most fun environment possible. That's why I always do it this way, even though it's super lame. There we go, we got in. Okay. Now we just have to wait for war supports drop below 0. Then they should go on. Oh, they already offered a white peace very inconveniently. I have to wait till that peace offer expires now to be able to pose my own. It's okay though. Should be able to propose peace deal now? And I want to give reparations. To be honest, I want this war to be over, so you know what? You can get away with not paying reparations. Or rather, the EIC can get away with it. Yeah. No, okay. Well, we can't do that, so... Yeah, they just won't give me that. Okay, cool. Peace deal. Boom. That is, a gigantic increase in the size of our market. Love to see that. And, yeah. The question is, like, do I even want to keep playing this? This is such an absolutely dominant position that there is, like, nothing interesting to go on except for just the building of a massive economy. I think, for now, I kind of want to just make this, like, a relatively short little, like, super guide video. Because we could make this a bit longer. I could talk on and I could go make a big economy. But what you should do is you should do this strategy and then just go and have fun doing whatever you want with the game. Because now you've won. There's no contesting your power in any reasonable way. You've won the game at this point. We seem to have a lot of market shortages, which is probably on account of all the production methods they were using that the British are providing them with. But that's fine. In terms of Liberty Desire, if that's something you're worried about, the EIC is going to have some, but just give it some time and it'll fix up. Basically, get your infamy down, improve relations, and then eventually they won't have Liberty Desire anymore. But yeah, if I choose to continue the playthrough, I'll continue it, but for now I'm going to take a break, because I did a lot of focusing there, and now I'd like to chill for a moment. I did choose to continue the game, however, I did not do any live commentary for it. Here's what I propose to you. I do have the footage of me playing the game, but no commentary. If you're interested in a classic GIGACHAD guide or maybe even a GIGACHAD story, leave a comment expressing your interest, and if I see enough demand for it, I'll go and write a script to match the footage I have. And I can show you how we went from the start of this guide up to the behemoth power that I showed off in the beginning of the video. For now though, I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you for your time.